In this video, we're going to take a look at the individual matchup between Rock Ya-Sin and A.J. Brown in the Eagles' 16-9 win over the Lions on Sunday Night Football in Week 11. I think most Eagles fans, NFL football fans across the country, would expect A.J. Brown to dominate this matchup, and that simply was not the case. Rock Ya-Sin's effort, his tenacity, his focus in this individual matchup was, I think, emblematic of the way Detroit played football on the defensive side to give their team a chance to stay in the game and hang around for 60 minutes while their offense was self-destructing. Brown, of course, did have 7 catches for 49 yards, made no big plays, first of all. Second of all, he benefited from the really horrible defensive pass interference call in the fourth quarter. That robs the Lions of any chance to get the football back. Basically, they could have forced Philadelphia to punt for the 8th time across 13 possessions on the night. We'll get the film started here, and I think I've got 10 plays queued up. Generally going to spot shadow Rock Ya-Sin in yellow and try to draw up A.J. Brown's route. This is first possession, 2nd and 15. This is after Amik Robertson has already kind of set the tone with his matchup against Devonta Smith on the first play of the game. In any case, up at the top side of the screen is Rock. These guys are oftentimes located into the boundary. A.J. Brown is typically classified as the X receiver in Philadelphia's offense. Yet another kind of outside release vertical go. There's not going to be any help here on these routes from the bottom of the numbers to the sideline. You're essentially talking about a one-on-one matchup, and Jalen Hurts knows it. He's immediately looking there to A.J. Brown. And what I like about the way Rock is doing this on Sunday night, he's not trying to hit a home run immediately. He's not trying to exactly press and get hands on. He's just turning and running and using his athleticism. A couple of the plays I show you, it's possible that, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are reading it separately or differently than from each other. This perhaps could be one of them. There's also a little bit of pressure here on Jalen Hurts. I thought Rock held up throughout the entirety of the night, particularly later in the game when Detroit's defense was really had their backs against the wall. This is the end zone angle of the same play. It'll be a one-man screen with the 6th tight end and eligible offensive lineman really leading the way for Bigsby out into the left flats. That's not where Hurts decides to go with it. Pressure's going to be from the right side for the Lions defense. It's Aiden Hutchinson and Tyleik Williams. Really weird pass pro look for Lane Johnson, the right tackle, who eventually left with an injury. He's really not even touching Aiden Hutchinson at all, even recognizing the fact that he's available as a possible threat. That leaves Hutchinson with a clear lane to get to Jalen Hurts, and so that impacts the throw here possibly. I still think that Rock Ya-Sin's in good position, and in order to get this throw to A.J. Brown and give him a chance to catch the football, obviously it's going to need to be up here. In this instance, we've got an example, I think, of the coverage being married or assisted, if you will, by the pass rush. In this case, Aiden Hutchinson totally unblocked. Moving to the second possession, this is, of course, after the Goff interception when Jordan Davis tips the football and Cooper DeJean almost takes it to the house. It's a 3rd and 9, and A.J. Brown tried to get Rock on this route multiple times. In fact, he got him twice, just not on this one. So Philadelphia's going to have to settle for a field goal. Again, I don't think that Rock is really trying to get hands-on immediately. This seems strategic, if you ask me. Basically, he's not trying to immediately get hands-on compared to what Amik Robertson oftentimes tries to do, which is immediately punch the receiver. He's actually faking it up to the top side of the screen. I'm talking about Robertson at this time. But Rock's strategy, to me, seemed to be appropriate for the style of matchup that he had. Basically, a bigger, faster, in actuality, stronger receiver in the case of A.J. Brown. Rock wasn't trying to win or lose in the first half a second to 3/4 of a second of the route. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. Jalen Hurts looking here immediately off the snap, like I said, 3rd and 9, got kind of this double slant. They're using Devonta Smith to take the nickel DB, Arthur Millette, out of there and clear up this space for A.J. Brown. So it's all timed up. Rock is there for the challenge to force an incomplete pass, and the Lions defense holds for a field goal for the first time tonight. 5th possession, and you've got the same matchup or dynamic consistently when Detroit wanted to play man. A couple of times they showed man and then played zone, and it's Amik matched up with Devonta Smith, and then Rock lined up over A.J. Brown. This is a 3rd and 10 from the 5th possession. Again, you can see the route releases that you've got. Outside release go, outside release go. It seems to be Philadelphia's answer, and in my opinion, Detroit made a strategic decision to not try to win or lose right off the snap. Basically, neither Rock nor Amik is getting hands on. They're just using their feet. Jalen Hurts is looking up to the top side of the screen. Definitely some physicality between Amik and Devonta Smith. We're focusing on Rock Ya-Sin down here at the bottom side of the screen. All over A.J. Brown. Some of these routes, do I think A.J. Brown knows perhaps that he's not going to get the football? It's entirely possible. In this case, Jalen Hurts is floating it out there to Smith against Amik, who's disrupted the route enough to force another incompletion. Those two, I thought, had a high standard for the game. Basically left all alone from the bottom of the numbers to the sideline with no opportunity for help. I mean, what scheme is going to give you a ton of help there, right? You don't normally a cover 2, maybe a cloud cover 3. They lived up to that standard. We move forward a little bit here. We're on to the 6th possession. Ball in the middle of the field. I believe this is after the failed fake punt by the Detroit Lions when Grant Stewart got tackled for a loss on a 4th and 2. It's a 2nd and 10, and Detroit has gone with what I call cowboy. It basically means both corners are on the same side, both outside corners, I should say. So Amik, once again, normally matched up with Devonta Smith, and then Rock Ya-Sin matched up with A.J. Brown. Since Brown and Smith are on the same side pre-snap, so are Amik and Rock Ya-Sin. They motioned Devonta Smith across from this 12 personnel formation consistently, they being the Eagles. I call it broken bunch, meaning you've got a tight end who is off the line, attached to the right tackle, and then what, quote, should be a bunch with the 2 receivers stacked together. Broken, meaning that the tight end is attached or close to the right tackle, further away from those 2 stacked receivers than you would expect in what would be called a bunch formation. In any case, they do not motion, or they do not bring Amik across with the motion. You can see there's a play fake with Jalen Hurts. This really doesn't involve Rock Ya-Sin at all, other than the fact that the tight end is assigned to go block him post-snap. So they don't move Amik, and I think that's what Philadelphia wanted. They wanted this defender to run with Devonta Smith because he would be a man. That's typical for Detroit's coverage under Kelvin Shepard, and it was, previously under Aaron Glenn. Only problem is it's not man. So they've done a really nice job of disguising here, if you ask me. So the screen to A.J. Brown to the bottom side of the field, from our perspective, has one more defender to block than Philadelphia is able to get to. Same play from the end zone angle, by the way. It's 12 personnel, like I said, broken bunch. So here's the tight end that Devonta Smith is going to motion to his side. And the way that Detroit can handle this, even if they want to play man, is they can just roll Brian Branch out, because Brian Branch is capable of playing outside corner, not repeatedly, not over a season-long basis, but on an interim basis, play-by-play. If they needed him to play outside corner, they certainly could. In any case, he motions off-screen. The Eagles, or he goes with the motion off screen, The Eagles are making it look like a read. It's not a read, and you can tell by what all of these offensive linemen do. After Jalen Hurts keeps the football, they release to try to make the screen happen. Unfortunately, Amik is there where they did not anticipate him to be, and the right tackle can't finish the play. It goes out known as a tackle for loss. It wasn't just Rock playing at a high level. Amik did as well. If you guys have watched much of my content in the past year plus, you know how highly I think of Amik Robertson and how much I root for him. I think both of those guys showed tremendous discipline, awareness, and commitment, but also physicality and tenacity that was needed on this night against a talented Philadelphia Eagles offense. This is the same possession, the 6th possession. Like I said, I believe this one is after the failed fake punt. It's a 3rd and 15. This is going to be a completion to A.J. Brown against Rock Ya-Sin up at the top side of the screen. Amik down here matched up against Jahan Dotson, I believe, because Devonta Smith is in the slot. It's 3-0 at this point. Philadelphia is going to get take a 6-0 lead after this. Rock kind of gets turned around here, number 1. Number 2, Alex Anzalone kind of jams this tight end, and what I mean by that is post-snap, he kind of hedges to the inside and pushes that tight end in to his help, which is Derek Barnes, and it kind of opens a lane for Jalen Hurts to throw the football to A.J. Brown. Basically, because Alex Anzalone is being heavy with this jam, which I'm a big fan of, that allows this lane to be slightly more open than it would be if perhaps Alex Anzalone didn't touch that tight end. In no way, shape, or form am I advocating for not being physical with receivers. In fact, I generally think that NFL teams on defense in the NFL act like it's 7-on-7 in pass coverage. The Detroit Lions are not one of them, and that's one of the things I enjoy. Having said that, they've generally not been physical between that matchup, Rock and A.J. Brown, whereas Amik had a little bit more freedom at times to get his hands on with Devonta Smith, or in this case, Jahan Dotson. There's actually a little bit of contact to the face, to the helmet, here down at the bottom side of the screen. In any case, it's a completion to A.J. Brown, somewhat innocuous given the situation, 3rd and 15, but it does allow Philadelphia to get into a closer, more manageable field goal distance to take a 6-0 lead. 7th possession here, Detroit has tied the game 6-all, of course, on the 40-yard touchdown pass from Goff to Jamison Williams, and you're going to see the same route occur that we talked about a little bit earlier on. The only difference is that this is a fake run action by A.J. Brown and the entire Philadelphia Eagles offense. So it's a fake toss to the top side of our screen, to their left. So you can see Jalen Hurts reverse pivoting and then stepping like he's going to toss the football to Saquon Barkley to the top side of our screen, away from A.J. Brown and Rock Ya-Sin, obviously. And then A.J. Brown's going to basically put his hands on Rock Ya-Sin briefly, and that allows him to push off slightly. I don't actually want to describe it as a push-off, to be honest with you. He's just using his arms to create a little bit of separation and then get in this kind of like slant window between Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell. The way that this is designed to work out from an Eagles perspective is the toss is supposed to widen Jack Campbell's alignment up and get him to match, obviously not that far in terms of the line that I just drew, but to get him to match the movement post-snap of Saquon Barkley. And also, I think Derek Barnes' drop to the flats is literally flat, and so you're leaving a little bit more space in between those two second-level defenders to possibly help Rock Ya-Sin. In any case, it's a route that A.J. Brown used multiple times. In this case, it's attached to a fake toss concept. In any case, this is, of course, the possession where the Eagles go down and take a 13-6 lead late in the second quarter. I'm, of course, omitting run plays by design here because we're just talking about the coverage matchup. We've moved into the third quarter here. It's the 8th possession for Philadelphia. This is a 3rd and 6. Rock is spot shadowed at the bottom side of the screen, once again against A.J. Brown. Outside release, kind of a little bit of a stutter off the line by A.J. Brown. Also a vertical by the slot receiver. I believe that's designed to just hold or possibly occupy the downside safety. Technically, it's the field side safety because the ball was on the right hash for the offense. And so I think that really what's happening is Jalen Hurts is just trying to hold those safeties with his eyes long enough such that he can go to the matchup he wants. I get it, right? And I think even as Lions fans going into the game, you would have thought that this will be an opportunity for Philadelphia to take advantage. Rock Ya-Sin played probably the best game that we've seen him play in a Detroit Lions uniform. I will tell you that he's a guy that's easy to root for, and I watched him when he played with the Ravens, and he didn't live up to the standards that were established by the film that I watched when he came over to Baltimore. He is in Detroit. He's in phase here, very calm and cool. You know, is A.J. Brown getting the best release here? No, he's not. But Rock is all over him and basically trying to use the sideline as a help defender, funnel A.J. Brown to the sideline. The ball is not well thrown, don't get me wrong, but I think part of that is because Rock Ya-Sin was uncompromising, and he made A.J. Brown work for every single yard. Again, kind of hearkening back to that comment I made a couple of plays ago. Some NFL pass defenses play like it's 7-on-7 or pass skelly. The Detroit Lions do not. They are allowed to be physical by their coaching staff, and I think that globally it works to their benefit far more times than it does not. I guess the larger point that I'd like to make about that, to extrapolate on it a little bit, is if Rock Ya-Sin doesn't come into this matchup with that mentality, basically I'm not going to cede ground easily or forfeit ground to you by alignment and giving as much space to you as you possibly want. If he doesn't come into this game with this mentality, I'm not sure that he's as successful as he was. This is, of course, one that goes in A.J. Brown's ledger. It's a 3rd and 11, and I think the penalty is called up here on Amik. I think it's accepted. The game stats or rundown is very weird because it shows this as no gain, and I think A.J. Brown catches this ball, later in the play, obviously. So he's getting to the top of the numbers from a regular alignment. So he's at the bottom of the numbers by alignment in terms of width. And then his route initially is taking him into the top of the numbers, trying to bring that route back out to the sideline, and Rock knows it. So Rock has got outside leverage, and he's definitely making some contact. This is an extremely unusual demeanor by Jalen Hurts. So watch his drop initially. He's looking possibly at either both safeties or in the middle of the field, however you want to describe it. And then he orients his body dramatically to the sideline. Such a weird dynamic. I talked about it in a full-length film study I did on the Lions defense Tuesday night. If you didn't check that out, feel free. I'll link it up in the description. You'll see the end zone angle of this one. I just don't know where he's looking. Possibly trying to look off a defender. I don't know. But in any case, here's Amik up at the top side of the screen, battling with the receiver. And this is where he draws a penalty, up at the top side. The ref is actually pulling the flag pretty much right now, or beginning to. As it stands, Jalen Hurts escapes out of here and finds A.J. Brown. It's a great catch, man, down on the sideline. Just have to give the guy credit against Rock, being able to separate later in the play as Jalen Hurts extended and worked his way to his right. High-level talent, obviously, you're not going to be able to shut a guy like that down. This is the same play from the end zone angle. The only reason I'm showing it is to once again illustrate and talk about the unusual nature of the way that Jalen Hurts looked as this play developed, dramatically to his right. There's no receiver over there, by the way. You can see initially off the snap, appears to be looking in the middle of the field, and then starts to glance over to his right. That's where A.J. Brown is located. I have no clue what he's looking at over there. It's not like there's a running back released out in the flats. The only thing that I can try to offer is that maybe, since he immediately turns back over his left shoulder, he was trying to look someone off by looking to his right. In any case, the pressure is unable to get to him and stop him from getting out to the edge. Unbelievable play between him and A.J. Brown. Still have to give Rock credit for this is the play that I used in the thumbnail, by the way. Still have to give Rock credit. He competed against a high-level talent. Didn't give up any big plays, so to speak. I think he fought for every yard, for every moment, and at times I think he had A.J. Brown frustrated. Got two more plays to talk about this matchup, and then I'm going to show you some efficiency markers that kind of illustrate, or I guess prove, how well the Lions defense played overall. This is a 3rd and 10 into the fourth quarter. It's still 13-6, by the way, in the Eagles' favor. That same route that we talked about earlier, and Detroit, Kelvin Shepard's going to bring a 6-man pressure. They trust the coverage on the back end, whether it's Amik, whether it's Rock Ya-Sin, Brian Branch. Actually, Amik is located at the top side of the screen. I think this right here is Arthur Millette. Kind of that outside step, and then bringing the route underneath once again. Physical, I would say, big boy slant by A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts knows where he's going with the football. They don't convert. Rock is fighting for, he's not ceding any ground whatsoever, including the catch point. I mean, he's still right there. It's just A.J. Brown is that good and that talented. I think it ends up going down as a 6-yard gain. Of course, allows Philadelphia to take a 16-6 lead in the fourth quarter. Finally, the one that everyone's talked about so much, and I myself have covered other time in the Detroit Lions defense video that I talked about a little earlier. It's a full-length film study that goes on like 45 minutes and talks about all the things I think Detroit did well as the one factor they struggled with, which was the empty draw to Jalen Hurts that I refer to as a log draw. This is 3rd and 8. I think the ball snapped with 1:57 left on the clock. So I believe that the Lions are talking about the quarterback draw, which is, I don't know why you would be. The Eagles don't run draw out of having a running back in the backfield, what I refer to as A gun or B gun. They only really run it out of empty. But you got man across the board, no surprise. And then Rock down here matched up against A.J. Brown. The angle of the helmet here is appropriate for Jalen Hurts because he's looking at A.J. Brown. Compare that to the previous play that I talked about, or 2 snaps ago, where he dramatically looked down at the sideline. But in any case, I think this is a great job by Rock. I don't see a hold on 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th glance. You're more than welcome to let me know, if you disagree. To me, if they're going to call that a pass interference, they need to call it on both guys and then just redo the down. Both players have a right to the football. Both players have right to where their feet are, in my opinion, and I just don't see the rules as being equitable at all if this is what they're going to call. I think the play by Rock here is one that deserves to get the ball back for the Lions. In any case, same play from the end zone angle. You really don't get a perspective on Rock and A.J. Brown at all in terms of the interference, but these guys are talking, and I just don't know what they would be discussing on a 3rd and 8 unless it's to talk about, hey, let's make sure that we stop QB draw. Campbell is locked up man on the running back. Like I said, off screen to our left is where Jalen Hurts is looking. It's the matchup between Brown and Rock. Don't see where there's anything that should be called from that angle, obviously, but it's just another situation that's unfortunate because you get this penalty or this flag that shows up, I don't want to say late, but certainly at that time we were thinking, okay, Detroit gets the ball back down 16-9, and we could have a great finish. I think we all know that if Detroit is fortunate enough to go down and score a touchdown, Jack Campbell's probably going for 2 to win the game. To illustrate how well Rock and the defense as a whole played in Week 11, this is the Eagles' TOR metric outputs for each game. So we're up through Week 11. Obviously, if you're not familiar with what TOR is, it's something that myself and a couple of people in the Lions Discord created. That mostly Ty was able to get the formula working for me from an app or website standpoint, so I didn't have to try to calculate these things on my own by hand, which would have been, absolutely impossible. So very fortunate that we got some talented, probably young and intelligent people in the Lions Discord who are very tech savvy. So look at what the Eagles were able to produce against Detroit. So we're talking about the TOER, or what I call or refer to as TOR, second column all the way from the right. That's a 0 to 1 output score for each game that basically measures offensive efficiency using all of the column markers you see going from left to right. Yards per play, turnovers, pass completion percentage, rush yards, sacks, etc., moving from left to right. The Eagles, of course, were involved in a defensive dogfight or war with the Packers 1 week ago, Week 10. Their offensive efficiency metric was a 26, extremely low when you look at the rest of their games for the season. The best 3 defenses that Philadelphia has faced, if you just go off of this metric, is Week 5 against the Denver Broncos, 16 out of 100. Week 10 against the Packers in a win, 26. And then the Detroit Lions in Week 11. Of course, the Lions lost the game. The offensive line had tremendous struggles. Jared Goff, I think, was, I don't want to say exposed, but over the course of the game, the Eagles' game plan, their ability to get pressure with 4 and then choose when they were going to play some man and really get after him, Jared Goff kind of crumbled over the course of the 60-minute game and went away from some of the things he does really well. I do wonder or speculate that Detroit needs to throw the ball down the field a little bit more and not be so machine-like in their approach. Basically, hey, we're going to destroy you, eat you up with a whole bunch of intermediate and short completions because Jared Goff is a computer. He's great at reading defenses pre-snap and post-snap and processing things quickly to get the ball out. In this case, that's kind of what the Eagles defense wants. They want you to throw intermediate and short stuff. In any case, we're talking about the Lions defense, what they did to Philadelphia from a efficiency standpoint, totally disrupted the flow of what Philadelphia wants to do. And Rock Ya-Sin was a huge part of that. Yes, A.J. Brown did have 7 catches. It took 11 targets to generate those 49 yards. So you can do the math yourself there. 11 times 4 is 44. So yards per target, would be between 4 yards per target and 5, a little bit closer to 5. So we're past, probably 4.6, 4.7. I didn't look that data up, before recording this video. In any case, I wanted to show film of Rock Ya-Sin playing his butt off against a high-level talent in A.J. Brown with a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Jalen Hurts, a guy who struggled at times statistically in 2025 for whatever reason. Detroit made sure that continued in Week 11, and they gave themselves a chance to still be in the game in the 58th, 59th minute. Unfortunately, the refs did not comply and do their job, allowing Detroit to get the football back with an opportunity to possibly tie or win. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. I'd like to take as serious a look as possible at the film studies, at the players that I choose to do a film study on, and that's why these end up being so long, in this case, upwards of 25 minutes. Appreciate you guys' time.